fantasy, so I listen to Easy and Alan on their Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. During the show, you can live chat with Easy and Alan at lennymelnickfantasysports.com. Rumour has it, Lenny only swings one way, with launch angle. Now here's Easy and Chris Allen.
I think we're here. This is a Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Lenny Melnick, afantasysports.com, the Legend Sports Network. This is a Fantasy Fan Sportscast with my co-host, Mr. Chris Allen. If see, that part I didn't fix that part, I guess. But I redid my studio. I'm hoping you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. It's a little bit no scratchiness.
What? Scratchy? What?
That sounds clean this week. That last week, remember, we had there were some static issues.
Okay, so the static is gone.
Right. So you sound good.
I do sound good. Thank you. I have a different microphone. Okay. If you notice, the green screen is not working yet. So I don't have that option.
It looks super professional, though, with the black background. It looks good.
Well,
I like it.
Well, then we're done. The fact that you, Mr. Fantasy, Mr. Everywhere, I don't know. If the word fantasy is in the name of a website right now, Chris Allen's name is on it. So
I contribute to a few places.
I know. You're going to have to email me the list because I don't even know if what I have posted somewhere on our stuff is still even correct. But I'll have to figure that out. I don't. Is it 4 for 4? Is that still one?
Yes, 4 for 4 still one.
Coach.
That is not one anymore because that site is down now.
Okay, then we need to get that changed. Fantrax,
absolutely.
I think that was the 3 I have listed somewhere. Are there others?
Yeah. 2 QBs. That was from last. Yeah, 2 QBs. That was from last season. And then I think that's it. Yeah, that's it.
You're not even sure.
Yeah, then I've got the podcast.
Technically, you're a part of afantasyfan.com, a part of
afantasyfan.com.
Lenny Melnick, afantasysports.com, or the Legend Sports Network.
Yeah, and then the Dino podcast, Dynasty Owner's Manual. We've got that one, which has its own small network of podcasts underneath it.
Oh. All right. Well, like I said, for you people out there in podcast land, YouTube land that are watching, like I said, if I'm even trying to see what chat rooms I can pull up just in case someone can't hear us. All of my meters are flashing. So
we're good.
Well, my expertise in the broadcast system.
But you're in the biz.
Meters mean good. I'm going to hit something now. See, I think now I have my cam. I think now I can. There's my studio cam. See,
look at you.
Do I look good?
Yes. Oh my goodness. That looks super professional.
Because I am. Easy.
Without question.
Thank you.
Who could possibly question Easy's professionalism on this podcast?
Right.
Who would dare do such a thing?
Right. Just the word easy kill. Being called easy kill is enough to just, know that you're bringing something.
Of course.
Like I said, I now have the 3 monitors. I'm now, to be honest, I actually have my old machine that I normally ran over here with stuff. I got stuff that I'm still kind of doing backup just in case something didn't work. But
gotcha.
Eventually, 2 streaming machines. Those are the ones that send stuff out. Mixler ones, then to our Spreaker and our iTunes, and then the one here in the middle is for all the video and the editing and the everything, and it's all hooked up correctly. But I have to say, I unhooked it last week after our show the next day, figuring I had at least a week to get it up and running, and I was sweating bullets. I wasn't sure I was going to make it. Chris, I'm not kidding you. And Monday night I play basketball. So Sunday night I figured I needed to have it done. And on Sunday night, I still could not get audio to go out without sounding horrible. So,
oh my goodness.
It was terrible because easy being easy. I took no pictures of what I had before. See, the old way, remember, I just kept adding stuff. So I kind of had everything just together. And I knew at some point it needed to be hooked up correctly, meaning it had to be hooked up as one entity rather than like, not that anyone cares other than what do we got? We got an hour to kill. We can do this. But, other than it needed to be hooked up as one thing, so that I got other things, hopefully by football season, we're going to have some high production. So, I want to make sure. Now, I did notice you have a microphone now, pointed up a little bit.
Oh, the boom. Yeah, it's a little bit closer now.
Oh, okay. No, you talked enough now. I noticed that does not block that award back there. So
it does not. Well, no, this is an award-winning podcast,
right?
So people need to know as such, and I have to make sure that's represented.
Thank you.
And I positioned it in such a way that I can increase my sound quality while still keeping the show's quality in check.
Yeah, Chris, that's why I bid for you in the podcaster co-host auction, fantasy auction. I mean, there were I
should be the 101. I should be first round, first pick. That's what I should be.
I blew my whole budget.
That's what I loved it. See, that's why I've been doing this for a year.
Right. Now, I'm guessing I'm one of those guys you get for $1 if you have $1.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying. I'm not the skilled guy. I'm the guy that you can put. You can.
No, you're the value pick.
You're
the value pick. Everybody goes for like the high priced guys. You're the value pick.
Right. Thank you. I'm going to take that as a compliment. And we're going to leave it at that. So, that's good. I don't know what happened to our Mets 360 guys. I didn't get them, to listen to before this. Now, and I need to talk to you.
Yes.
We have the Cha-Cha's out there at the chat room. We got chat room people that showed up. The show that's even on before that one, I'm trying to think now their actual name. It's Brewery Mark, Jonathan. They own a brewery in Detroit. Well, yeah, they have and actually they're pretty large. I looked them up on Beer Advocate and stuff. Okay. They've got double. I didn't know how to compare other than to Warped Wing. I looked at Warped Wing, Beer Advocate, and how many beers they had, and some of their ratings. This place has double of everything, meaning, more reviews, more beers, pretty big. They distribute all around Detroit and all that. So, Wicked Witch. I wish I should have prepared for that, but
what's the name of the brewery again? Wicked Witch? Is that what it's called?
Wicked Witch. Thank you. Wicked Witch Brewery in Detroit. But they've invited us up. We can come up.
I was just in Detroit Monday night.
Oh, I was
flying through. I didn't actually go out in the city. I was in the airport. Yeah.
I mean, if you just say, Easy, you walk in, knock on that door, and say, "I know Easy Kill." Where do I go?
Yeah. If I had time to go out, I would have definitely done that.
Right. It's a nice place. I mean, I went to their website. It's a nice place. A lot of beers and brewery. And he said he'd hook me, he'd sample, he'd give me a tour of the brewery, and all that. Even talked a little bit. If I brought a corny, he'd make sure that it went back clean and heavier, and I was like, I like that plan.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like that. So, might have to work on a trip to Detroit someday just to,
that'd be fun.
Well, yeah, what do we got to lose? And they actually do a show now every day of the week. Wow. They do the first sip at 11:30. They do a half-hour DFS every day at 11:30 on the network.
Okay.
The first 5-10 minutes is always beer talk, and then they move into DFS talk for the day. And then they have their big hour-and-a-half show on Wednesday nights now. So
yeah.
It's the Brewery Boys. So
all right.
That's kind of nice. But if I can make this happen, you'll have to let me know. Because I know you cook also.
Yes.
And you do a little bit. But do you know Christopher Kimball?
Name rings a bell. I don't know why.
On PBS, he does a couple of different cooking shows, like the Milk Street cooking show, and then he does like the country something. It's a guy in a bow tie and glasses. He does these cooking shows on PBS, He has a podcast. He has all kinds of stuff. And I'm probably breaking every copyright rule there is right now. But I listened to his cooking podcast, and today he had a guest on. And as soon as he said this, I knew what he was talking about. And I think me and you talked about this exact thing on our other podcast a while back, the HBYOB, our home brewing podcast that we do.
Absolutely. Yeah, our silent partner.
Right. So, let me know if you can hear this. I'm pretty sure you should be able to. If it's too loud or whatever, let me know. But just listen to, and this is a couple minutes, but if it gets boring, let me know. But I found this interesting because this is, I thought I invented this. Let me know if you can hear it.
Next up, it's our contributor, Dan Pashman.
You got it?
Dan Pashman, how are you?
I'm doing well, Chris. How have you been?
I've been well, but I think this segment's about how you've been.
Okay. Well, I've been thinking about you lately. I was excited to chat because I've been thinking a lot about a food-related subject that I'll bet is near and dear to your heart. Just knowing you as I do.
It's near and dear to my heart.
I feel like...
I'm nervous here. Go ahead.
I feel like you're the kind of guy that enjoys a good shower beer. Am I right?
Yeah. Good shower beer.
A shower beer. Right? You're in Vermont. You're shoveling piles of mud places.
Again, I'm sure this is copyrighted. I don't know. But
you're getting dirty.
The shower beer. I didn't even know it had a name.
And you enjoy a nice shower beer.
Oh, yeah. You never heard of a shower beer?
That would be.
I'm the one that brought it up on our podcast.
That's not in my universe.
Yeah.
Never thought about. Much less enjoy.
Well, it's about time you start, Chris, because I'm here to tell you about.
I'm just saying, a Rolling Rock in the shower after you mow grass is the most refreshing drink in the
100%.
world.
Yeah, without question. I mean, a nice.
I could play more, but it'll get a little more boring, and we got to eventually talk sports. But he actually eventually gets into it, different time. He does shower beer all the time, depending on the temperature. He does stouts. He does different. I mean, I thought it was interesting that a pretty famous podcast, cooking show guy, had a segment on shower beer, which I did not know it had a name. I just always said nothing better than a beer in the shower.
Right.
And here's a guy talking about shower beer. And again, the other co-host on our HBOOB always thinks, whenever I've told him that, he's like, that's stupid. No one, why drink a beer in the shower? Why? Because it's damn good. I'm just saying.
After being around outside, I think that'd be one of the perfect situations to have a beer. I've never personally done it, but now that I'm thinking about it, I would love to do it. I would love to try it.
You mow the grass. You obviously you don't want water in the beer, so luckily I have a shower. It's got a little corner thing where the shampoo. Get that shampoo out of there. Shampoo. Who needs
put the beer in that?
You put that beer in that shampoo holder.
I love it.
I
love it.
And I gotta say, I'm not a Rolling Rock guy, but that's when Rolling Rock is the best.
Yeah, I feel like a good, like an ale or a lager or something like that. I feel like it has to be like low ABV. It can't be something that would get you plowed if you drink one of them.
No, but I've never really done that. I might have to try it. I mean, this guy was talking about doing stout. He actually said stout is his one all around shower beer, meaning he can do it all times a year because it can be refreshing sometimes. Blah, blah. But then he talks about, the fall beers in the fall when he's in the shower, just getting warm and having a little spicy beer. I'm just saying, it cracked me up as soon as he said shower beer. Is he talking about what I think he's going to talk about? I
would think something that heavy wouldn't be all that appealing, but okay. All right. I'm not against it.
I'm starting to think I need to get a refrigerator in the beer then, and just, in the shower, just a little refrigerator there, and just
have it right there.
Always have it.
Yeah. Okay.
Huh. All right. There we go. We killed 15 minutes, but it does look like no one's bitched. Cha-Cha didn't, eat. Easy is eating fruitcake. Don't even know what that means in the chat room, but that's Cha-Cha. No. Did your draft with Cha-Cha end?
We're in the 15th round, I think, is what we're getting into right now.
All right. So still slowish draft. I mean, but no one's bitching and moaning. There are still people out there bitching and moaning.
No one's bitching and moaning. I think everybody understands it's March. It's a slow draft.
Right. What are you gonna do? Right. All right. Well, let's get into some real major stuff. But you know me. First of all, couple of non-football things just to keep you on your toes. I'm pretty sure now, aren't the Lakers and LeBron now out of the playoffs? Is that official?
I don't know if it's official, but they were what, 4.5 games back or something like that the last I checked. And they only have, I think they pretty much have to run the table because they only have maybe.
I think they had to run the table and someone else had to lose the table. And
because they have maybe 10 or 12 games left before the end of the season.
But
I think it's coming in close.
The first time I think they said in 14 years.
I think since its second season, I think he won't be in the playoffs.
Right. So, one, do you think this hurts? I've heard different people, saying, "Oh, see, he can't carry." Michael Jordan at this age could have still carried team one. Michael Jordan was never on a team even this bad. But
no.
I mean, LeBron was on what I would have said was a worse Cleveland team years ago.
I think so.
They still made the playoffs, but LeBron was 4 or 5 years younger. I mean,
right.
It has to make a difference. But I mean, the word legacy, we know he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to be one of the best of all time. But does this hurt him not being in the playoffs this year as far as the GOAT thing, or if the argument as far as versus Michael Jordan?
I think any regular season loss hurts, or it changes the complexion of the argument for people that don't think he's better than Michael Jordan. So I think him not being in the playoff will just be another thing that they'll point to. Even though there were years Michael Jordan didn't make the playoffs, there were years that Michael Jordan played terribly. I mean, everyone has their down seasons. So I think at this stage of his career, I mean, that's really I think most people are just looking for more negatives to place on LeBron's game at this point. So it doesn't change anything for me personally, but for the haters, quote unquote, out there, yeah, it'll just be another thing they can point to.
Right, the haters. I like that we'll
put the haters.
Haters. Right. I get you. And see now, because now that I say this, I did have problems last night with my system, but I don't think it's my system necessarily that updates. I think I'm just having problems with my camera popping here and there. I'll get it restarted here in a minute once I get you talking, and no one will know. It'll be behind the
Hopefully no one will notice.
Behind the scenes. So we'll go back a couple other things, but I guess the big thing would be the combine, and I'm hoping you can bring some expertise. So I'll give you a few minutes just to give me some of the pointers, some of the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows. What'd you see, or what'd you hear about the combine?
For the most part, I think if anything, from a running back perspective, I think this class is, I would say, somewhat weaker than any of the other classes that we've looked at over the past few years, because it doesn't have that number one running back or that quote unquote generational talent that we've come to expect over the last few years. Like, there is no Ezekiel Elliott coming out this year. There is no Saquon Barkley coming out this year. I think the closest that we have to that is Josh Jacobs, but he didn't even test at the combine. So now, and also he has the quad or leg injury of some sort. So really, we don't have that generational talent that everyone's thinking of running backs coming back into the front in terms of how we view the position. But in terms of wide receivers, my goodness, if you want to talk about 3 Sigma athletes, or these athletes that are just absolute freaks of nature, this class has it. I mean, when we talk about valuing wide receivers, I want to say it was the 2014 class that produced a lot of the number one receivers that we still value to today. And I think this class was the first in quite a while where we see a lot of those same athletic freaks that started testing. Right. Because we saw the DK Metcalf 4.3 40 when the guy's 220 some odd pounds. I think also N'Keal Harry, who I think is the consensus number one wide receiver in the class. Other people, after seeing DK Metcalf run, will try and place him over Harry. But I do think that Harry, he's meet or match enough thresholds to still maintain that number one wide receiver, at least for me personally. DK Metcalf is just a freak of nature in terms of his athleticism.
Right, he was definitely the big name that I heard the most.
Because everyone assumed that because he was so large, and then everyone saw how much he weighed, and everyone saw, I think the stat that came out was that he had 1.6% body fat, which nobody could really prove that to be true or not. But regardless, he was just so large. the expectation was there that he wouldn't be able to run as fast, and then he runs almost like a John Ross-ish type speed. So everyone's trying to compare him now to Julio Jones in terms of that side speed combo, because he matched what at least similar numbers to what Julio was able to put up. So now we're looking at, elevating this wide receiver class. So it was him, it was Hakeem Butler. I think even Greg Dortch performed fairly well. Ashton Doolin, the guy from, I think it was like Malone College or Malone University, so there were a lot of Paris Campbell, the guy from Ohio State. So there were a number of wide receivers that showed out in this class. So I think if you're looking for the dynasty folks out there, if you're looking to supplement your roster for wide receivers, this is definitely the class for you. Running backs didn't really perform as well as expected.
Right.
Guys like Elijah Holyfield didn't really turn out as expected. So I think there was some disappointment in how the running back performed as a whole. There were still some bright spots, but I think as a whole, everyone's somewhat down on the running back class. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But wide receivers and even the tight ends actually as well, like Hawk and Fant, both of those guys coming out behind George Kittle, because they all went to the same college. It's really interesting to see how people are going to value this tight end class coming out. And then, of course, everyone now, the big thing is with Kyler Murray. It was shown that at least a lot of anonymous scouts, again, mind you, were saying that his team meetings, he didn't perform as well. Reading the board, his board work wasn't all that great. Didn't really seem like he was at least 100% invested in football. It seemed like when he announced he was going to the combine. So that Kyler Murray story is going to continue all the way up until the draft. And now that we're already hearing rumblings about Arizona may or may not take him. So who's going to take him in the first round, or if he's even going to go in the first round, it's going to be wild until we actually get to the draft.
Right. I agree. It's a whole new thing. And again, I know what's been said, but there's still a lot of money on the line for the kid. I'm still not saying there's not a shot he plays baseball, but again, I know what he's saying right now, and I think he's saying what you have to say before the draft. Because I think they want to be picked number one. Because I think if he's picked number one, now the money becomes definitely the debate, So because he'll get number one pick money. Obviously if he goes, I think if he goes mid-round or later, I think you'll see him on the baseball field. So what's
that's interesting. If he doesn't go in the first round like everybody projected him to be, because I thought the rumors coming out of the combine, or even actually going into the combine, but he was, Arizona's going to take him at number one. It's almost a done deal.
Everyone's going to keep Aaron. Do you think that's true? They don't even need him. I know. They have a guy they haven't even done much with for 1 year.
Yeah, I think the logic behind taking Kyler Murray at number one is based off of the fact that the organization as a whole decided to basically flip 180 and go from an older type system, like when they brought on, or when they basically removed the head coach, when they got rid of Wilkes, and then they brought in this new staff. Same thing with their GM. And so now they brought in Cliff Kingsbury, who is depending on who you talk to, either an innovator at the college level, but he didn't win as many games as people would like to see. But still, they've completely gone 180. So if they were willing to invest in Cliff Kingsbury, then the team should just go all in and try and find a quarterback that fits Kingsbury's style. And that would be more geared towards Kyler Murray than it would be Josh Rosen. So I guess I can understand the logic.
Right.
But again, they've already spent a first round pick on this quarterback from last season. So it just seems, I don't know. I'd have to think about it a bit more to find out what really makes sense for the team going forward.
Matters or not. Is there a list now of the, I had it in my head, what do they call them when each kid or when each college does their big thing?
The pro days?
Yeah, the pro days. Is there a list of what schools are out and when that starts?
I'm not sure. I would assume that that's supposed to start within the next couple of weeks. I think they have like the week off or whatever, like this coming week or like this week rather, is when everybody kind of goes back to their respective colleges. And their pro day should happen at some point between now and the actual draft. So I'd say over the next couple of weeks, that's when it should happen.
Right. Because obviously I'd be interested because they, the kids seem to do better at those. So I'll be curious, how the numbers go, and like asking, him. I'm just curious in all the Buckeyes. I try to always keep up with the day the Buckeyes do theirs, just because the numbers come out and you hear, sometimes faster speeds and some of that stuff. But like I said, I'm not a rookie guy, so I'm not drafting probably any of them anyway. So
I might dabble in and maybe a couple of the wide receivers. I'm not entirely certain, but I mean, when it comes to wide receivers, first year wide receivers, oh boy. I mean, I'm hard
years ago where there was a group of them that did well, but in
the 2014 class,
they do anything.
Yeah. So, it's really the second year, like the sophomore year, where you can expect a lot of them to break out. So unless I see one drop into like the perfect situation to the right team, then no. I mean, generally, I'm probably going to be out of this class. I mean, it's as it pertains to best ball, and especially as it pertains to redraft.
Well, I know you and Cha-Cha you said you were around 15 roughly. Have you drafted any rookies at this point in that draft?
Yeah, I've seen a couple go. I've seen David Montgomery go already. I thought earlier. I thought I saw Josh Jacobs go earlier, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't seen any of the. I don't think I've seen any of the rookie quarterbacks go that might come out that will be drafted this year. I haven't seen any of those go yet, but I've seen people take a couple of shots at. I thought I saw N'Keal Harry go earlier as well, so I've seen a few people have dabbled.
You recall who the first rookie off was?
Not offhand. I think Cha-Cha's in the chat. He might be able to pull it up. I think if he's sitting there in front of you. I figure, yeah, Jacobs is gone, but I forget who else.
I'm right now who the top rookie is, because right now none of them really appeal to me.
I would assume it's Josh Jacobs. That's the one that's been going the most. Yeah, it's Josh Jacobs. He went in the 5th round of our draft.
Right. So, is in dynasty leagues. Is he also the person? Is he the top pick in most dynasty leagues right now, or are they going with the quarterbacks?
Even for rookie picks as it goes, N'Keal Harry I think has been the consensus 101. Now, if you're talking super flex leagues, Kyler Murray has actually shot up the charts with the rumors that he would be one of the first quarterbacks taken.
Right. Jacobs was the first. Cha-Cha saying. Then he said he didn't know we could draft him. So I don't know what. Are you on Fantrax? Where are you doing this?
Yeah, we're on Fantrax, and I forget specifically when they added the rookie list, but I thought Tim added it. It was maybe the week or so before the lobbies actually opened. So for me, it was actually kind of a adjustment in my strategy as well, because first I'm trying to figure out the way that they have all the players listed on the site right now. Because the way for Fantrax, they have the ADPs listed is by how each of the players finished last year. So Patrick Mahomes is the very first person on the list. All the quarterbacks, because they scored the most points, they're all the way up at the top.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you'd have to like really scroll down through the list in order to find
some of the other players.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So all right. Okay. Because again, we've had that conversation. I don't do the dynasty stuff. But we will as it gets a little closer, because dynasty drafts usually go earlier. Usually about a month after the real draft is when a lot of your dynasty drafts start kicking in.
Yeah, startup drafts are going on right now, and then shortly after the NFL draft, that's when most folks will wind up having their rookie drafts.
Okay. All right, I'm pilling with stuff here. I don't know. I'm hearing a little clicking noise. I don't know if it's me, it's you, it's whatever. And obviously, I don't want to. Last night, like I said, we went over 2 hours. We were close to being done anyway, and then all of a sudden, my system just all went down again. Don't know if it's my system, coincidence. So I'm trying to keep track of what's all going on. The goal here is to sound good by football season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've already got one season. We got
plenty of time to figure this out.
Plenty of time to get better at this. We'll just keep practicing. What do we got to lose, Chris? What do we got to lose?
Exactly.
Then the other, again, I'm going to jump back and forth to a couple non-football related things to keep you on your toes. the Kansas Jayhawks won their college championship in basketball this year. They're already confirmed they're going to win it this year for the 15th year in a row. And they play in a pretty, there's some, there's some non-slouches in that division. I mean, in their I don't know. I thought when I heard that, it was amazing. I mean, I couldn't imagine the Buckeyes, and they're even saying this is a record that obviously in their league. I don't know if any other leagues. I know UCLA and basketball had a run way back in the day, but I can't imagine 15 years in a row. But Kansas Jayhawks basketball, and they've gone through a few coaches. It's not even like it's been one coach. So, I mean, I think that's kind of cool. See that we talked last night. I'm a sports guy. I can watch anything, especially when it's big games and March Madness and, and game line and all that. So, when I saw that, I was like, man, I've watched a lot of sports and I've just not heard that, in Division I, top NCAA sports. I mean, that's a pretty major thing. Now, do you watch, other than maybe March Madness? I think we talked about that, but do you watch any other college basketball or do basketball at all?
I'll catch a few games here and there, but because I don't have a specific team, I don't find myself watching it religiously. But if there's a game on, especially now with trying to track like how well Zion's been doing, even though, is he still out? I thought he was still out.
Yeah, he did not play the other day.
Yeah. So, I mean, so at least following him, because I know he's like the big star or whatever. But no, not typically. No, I mean, I'll watch a few games here and there though.
Right now, do you do the March Madness thing?
Oh yeah, I'm a degenerate gambler. So if there's a little bit of money I can put down on something like that, of course I'll throw 5 on it.
Right. All right. I just thought that was neat. I mean, big news. I mean, not big news, but those are things to me I find interesting. I didn't I don't think I've watched a game. I might have early in the season when they're in like the Alaskan shootout or one of those things. But, I don't know. Just when I hear something like that, I think that, they deserve a little bit of props and I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, when it comes to teams like that can do it for so long, I mean, of course, the easiest analogy when it comes to football would be the New England Patriots, where it's like you want to hate them, but at the same time, like, man, you have to give them respect for the amount of excellence they've been able to achieve over such a long period of time. It really is impressive.
Only because you brought them up, and I have it written down here to talk a little bit later, but let's talk about signings and cuts and players that were not put on, they weren't, what's the word I want to say? They weren't
they weren't given a franchise tag.
Yeah. Right. No franchise tag. So, oh man, I hit my wrong button there. And obviously the big one was their kicker. They've only had 2 kickers in like 50 years. And it was a pretty big deal that they didn't, because a lot of people thought they would sign him. But they did not franchise tag him. But isn't that the Patriots? They're not going to lock somebody in even at a kicker, right? I mean, that's just not the way they play the game.
No. They look to find as many advantages as possible. So I would think that they would try and find at least the best use of it. And with the amount of picks that they have, and they're also like in a pretty decent cap situation, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's the one team that people are really looking to see, like how they operate over both free agency, which is supposed to open next Tuesday, midnight. Well, I think it starts on March 13th. So that'd be a week from today. So yeah, I think that's what everybody's looking to see, because they're in a pretty decent shape cap-wise. They have quite a few picks for this season, or for this upcoming draft. So it'll be really interesting to see who they make a play for, because with all the Antonio Brown rumblings, the Odell Beckham rumblings, they can make a huge splash if they wanted to. Or they could just sit back and make
the day with Brown. Was there a team that came out saying they were interested or not, or did I just hear something? Or was that
in AB? The Jets, the Raiders, I know those are 2. Like
those are 2 that would make me drop him down as far as where I would draft him.
Oh yeah, I mean there's really only one. Other than the Patriots, there's really only one team that has both the cap space to bring him on, and two, the offense that would really be able to even sustain 75% of the offensive production he's been able to produce in Pittsburgh, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. There really is no other situation that I could see him going to where he'd be able to replicate anything that he's done with Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
So, that's his best case scenario. He goes to Oakland. Everybody that's been taking him, I think in best balls, I've seen him go in the early second round, somewhere in there. That becomes a worthless pick. There's nothing there for him.
Right. It's not like anybody would draft a Pittsburgh Steeler in the first round, or maybe pick one or two and then not get to use them all year.
Yeah.
That would never happen. So, even an ex-Pittsburgh Steeler. See, I don't think either one of them could go anywhere where they're going to hold their value. I think they're going to go.
I think if Le'Veon Bell goes to the Jets, which I think has been one of the biggest rumors, I think he can withhold some of his value. That's just because there's really not a ton of competition for him in the backfield. But then it's his touchdown upside gets kneecapped severely. So I can see through, especially since best ball is PPR, he can recoup some of that value through, dump off targets and all that. But to think he'll be able to produce the same amount of total points as he has in the past.
And that argument also is that he didn't play for a year. I'm sorry. We've seen other players. Not a lot of them being out a year doesn't help you. In some cases it might help you the following year. Maybe, I've actually seen where that happens. It's the next year they're kind of weak, and then after that they get their legs under them. But I can't think. Like I said, it's just a lot of them that's sitting out a year. You would think it would get your body into shape, but at the same time, it gets your body into a different type shape. You're just no longer. So I'm more curious.
Because you're not playing at game speed and not taking the same hits that you would.
One of them in the first 2 rounds.
And that's where, both of them, I think I've seen both Bell and Brown have been going
because to me, they're too risky in those 2 rounds.
Yeah.
I don't care where they go. I'm not even sure I would take Brown now in the first 2 rounds, even if he went back to Pittsburgh. I'm just saying, it's still a possibility. That's the only spot where I would probably take him in one of those 2 rounds. And probably I would, consider him. I think if he somehow goes back to Pittsburgh, he's probably a mid first rounder. I think some people will hesitate, but it's still a little risky. And again, Bell, I'm not interested in him. I don't think at all. Even if he goes back to Pittsburgh, which that's not going to happen. But
no, that can't happen at this point. Unless they're willing to put him to a long-term deal. His time in Pittsburgh is over.
They would have done what they did last year without, without doing what they're doing. Any other? I had issues, so I shut my NFL thing down to see if that was part of my problem with my camera, my noise. But any other big NFL news? Anybody else cut or let go that we weren't expecting?
Not on the offensive side that I can think of. The Michael Crabtree release from Baltimore, which happened, I think it was like a week and a half ago, that wasn't too terribly surprising because Michael Crabtree was expensive, and I think he caught like less than 50 balls last season, so he wasn't really a huge contributor to the offense anyway.
Issue, or not just Flacco, that whole team had problems throwing the ball.
Yeah, so that was not surprising at all. But their release of Eric Weddle, the defensive player for Baltimore, that was their safety. That was actually quite surprising that they did that.
And so, I would think that was just money.
It's what it sounds like. So I think he'll be, at least from a full free agency standpoint, he should be one of the top people. I think he'll get signed. He'll get picked up pretty quick. I think people were talking about since he got released, I think the Browns should definitely try and pick him up and see what see how much he's worth, because they just, or even if they wanted to, I don't know if the Vikings could make a play for him. They could definitely make a play for Jamie Collins, who the Browns just released. I think that would be quite interesting if they wound up doing that.
Right.
But yeah, no offensive. I think most of the offensive fireworks in terms of free agency, that's all going to happen next week.
Now it's Gostkowski. I mean, the kicker for New England. I mean, just because they didn't franchise tag him and they let him go, that doesn't mean he can't resign. And just even saying that, there's a chance he's still their kicker. The money isn't right. I mean,
that's what I'd assume. I mean, that
overpaying, and then so that was it. I kind of paid attention a little bit to the Bengals. I don't think the Bengals did anything too exciting this week either. They were, I don't think they were involved in much. So no. So really, the combine was the biggest thing. I got involved in other things, and blah blah. I don't think I watched other than highlights any of the combine this year after last year having it on the whole time. So, I just kind of missed out on that. In dynasty leagues, another thing, because Lenny Melnick, FantasySports.com, Legend Sports Network, they released their baseball draft guide this week. Which I bought. It's good. It's a lot of information. Obviously, you're a baseball guy, but I brought it up last night in the round table, and I'm just going to ask you: Do you use in football? Do you buy magazines? Do you buy draft guides or anything like that, or do you only just go out and hit the websites and Twitter?
I have in the past. 2QBs, they put out one last season, which I thought was a huge help. Because looking at both from a dynasty perspective and then just how they value the quarterbacks and also the strategy involved in doing startups for 2QB leagues with the dynasty twist to them, I think is important. So I wound up purchasing their draft guide, and also for DLF, they didn't have a draft guide per se, but it was most of just their collection of articles that I signed up for, because it addresses a gap in my knowledge. As much as I'm trying to learn about both of those types of formats, I mean, there's still so much that people already have written about or talk about on a constant basis that having access to those articles, I think, is almost, they do the research for you.
Right. And we've talked about that before, in just other, in all the other stuff. And that is, I don't think you can get enough information. And sometimes even, different websites or different things, just getting their draft guide just to get opinions and have that. And I'm still one of those that, this time of year, if I walk through a grocery store somewhere where they've got magazines, I'll pick up even a baseball guide. In football season in the fall, I'll pick up one of the early football things. Just, there's always neat articles in there. I do understand that some of the data is going to be out of date come draft time, but there's still information in there. And I don't think it hurts to have, again, the more you have good or bad knowledge, as long as you know how to, shuffle it and file it, I can't hurt your game.
No, not at all. And I think it's important for people to understand. You're not just buying stuff, or you're not buying these guides just to buy them. They should address something that you currently don't understand. Like I don't go out into random websites and just purchase subscriptions to them. It's to help address something that I don't understand. Right. So that's why I signed up, at least this past season, for TQE, the Quant Edge, run by Elliot Christ, because they have a great DFS portion of it. A lot of the guys there that help me walk through how they wind up attacking each slate. So it's just knowing what you want to learn, knowing what you're into and where you want to invest your money, that helps you figure out where you want to invest your dollars when it comes to looking for articles and guides and all.
And again, and I obviously bought the one that Lenny and their group put out, because obviously I listened to the guys and all that, and I want to support them also, and I think that's important in any of the anybody you follow. But what's cool about this one is, Lenny, being a big baseball guy, there's actually, when you buy the draft guide, it's online, but when you buy it, you get an audio clip. He actually gives you between 3 and 8 minutes on every team of audio. Wow. He gives you detailed information or he tidbits, little, fantasy things. And I think that's cool. I've bought a few online football guides. I've never had any that had major audio, they might have an audio clip here or there, but not anybody that analyzed every team. So, it's pretty cool, but same thing. And then they even break down each baseball team and the projections for what lineups are going to be. So, again, so you're drafting late, you can look and go, hey, is this guy even going to be a starter? He's going to be batting in the top 6 guys. How many at bats is he going to get? So you can at least look at projected, starting lineups and some of that stuff. And that's kind of cool. So, I'm just saying it came out this week. If you go to the website, there's a tab there where you can order it on the front page. Lou, who couldn't be here tonight to listen, he already texted me. He's been, he did a lot of the writing for it. He's been pubbing it in the chat room quite a bit on and off. So, it's pretty neat. Like I said, I bought it, and I've bought, hey, like I said, the magazine in the stores nowadays are $10 at least. They're between 10 and 15. I bought draft guides online for under, let's say, around $10. And I think one of the more expensive ones I bought for football years back before I knew what I needed to know, I might have paid $39 or something, because it was online. You got other things, but, it was a preseason kit. We'll go that way rather than a draft guide. It was a preseason football kit, but, pretty much once the season was over, it was useless. Now I know some of them, and Lou and Andrea and the people involved there, Lou's updating it 3 and 4 times a day already. They released it on Monday, but stuff's already happened. I mean, when they released it, Trout hadn't been signed with the Phillies yet. They actually
go back and change that.
Right, they released it on Sunday night, and then on Monday night he signed. So they had to go in and make changes and update stuff. So. That's what's neat about the online one is they're updating it all the time. So the day before your draft or the morning before your draft, you can print out the latest, player guide or ADP stuff that they have in there. So that's pretty cool. Makes it fun. I just was curious because I have noticed, and unfortunately that makes it harder. When we first started this show a year ago, I was listening to everything. I was reading everything. And now, I spend a little time preparing for the show, and I listen to a few of the other shows on baseball, and I'm doing more sports now. So it's actually harder to keep up sometimes than it, when I just did football and didn't really have to worry about a show. I couldn't get enough information. Now it's just hard to find the time to take it in. There's still a lot of podcasts out there, and I listen to a few football ones still, but right now I'm in baseball mode. I got 3 baseball leagues right now that are pay leagues. I've got someone conned me into a free league, which free leagues are killer. I'm saying they're good to learn and have fun, but damn, you get involved in them and then forget about the money leagues. I'm just saying free leagues can be a hassle. And then you have idiots, that tear down their studio and rebuild and stuff like that, right in the middle of baseball season. I got 2 big drafts are already next week. We're only 3 weeks away from baseball. I should say that. Yeah, there's 2 teams playing in Japan on March 20th. So they're playing a week ahead of time in Japan, and they're games that count. They are not, preseason games.
This is actually the regular season.
I think it's Seattle and Kansas City. Don't quote me. Unfortunately, I've turned every computer off to try to figure out what my issue is. Obviously, it's something, and I haven't solved it yet, but I'm kind of flying where right now I just see Chris. That's all I've got on my screen.
That's all you need.
Hey, you're damn sexy. But baseball's coming. I mean, we're not that far away. So obviously I'm in baseball mode. So it's making it harder to prepare for our draft, for this show where we mainly talk football. Another thing, because again, and there goes my camera again. I'm not even reboot it now. I'm just going to go to the logo and we're done. But
keep digging next time.
About 10 minutes. And my logo looks pretty good. Do you like the new logo? That's the logo for the round table, which is what I like it now. And that'll, the round tables on Tuesday night. We had a big group of people last night. Went till 1 a.m. We started at 10 and went to 1 a.m.
So late.
I know, but we have fun. I don't know. It's something about talking fantasy sports with other fantasy people. And Chris, you do this more than me on the football side. Baseball people are a little crazy.
Oh, well, yeah, I can understand that.
I mean,
I get that.
There's so many more things to judge. I'm not, or football running back. How many yards, how many touchdowns? Technically that's it. How many yards, how many touchdowns? We're in baseball. It's RBIs, it's steals, it's OBS, it's WAR, it's batting average with runners on. It's, and that's just one guy offense. That doesn't even count the other 15 that you have to start. I mean, so when you have this GOAT talk or you have this talk, I mean, oh man, and baseball people are set in their ways. I mean, and I like to instigate, so I have fun because I just start fights, and that's what I'm all about.
Exactly.
But another thing that I watched this weekend, because when I flip through and find things, I get hooked. And at first, I will be honest. You know me. I don't lie, Chris. I do not lie to to the listeners out there. They deserve the truth. I was flipping through. The first thing I saw was on ESPN on Sunday. Before it came on, I was watching Sports Center, and they just said, I didn't even pay attention at first, other than they said, the number 1 and the number 2 teams in the country are coming up next. I'm like,
okay,
that seems cool. I mean, I'm even thinking basketball. I had no clue. What ended up being the number 2 team in the country, UCLA, versus number 1 team in the country, Oklahoma. These two teams over the last, I think they said 15 years, have 8 or 9 national championships in this sport. So these are the 2 dominant teams and I'm going to use the word sport because it is. And that was enough for me to go, I don't care what it is I'm watching. I'm going to watch what's about to happen. It sounds like something I want to watch. Does that just knowing what I've told you, is that something you'd go, you know what? I want to watch this.
That does sound like something I want to watch.
Okay. It was a dual meet women's gymnastics. So that I have never seen. I watch gymnastics when it's the Olympics. I watch gymnastics when it's the national champions with the Biles girl and all that, who is the best in the world. That's not even a question. But I have never watched a college gymnastics meet. I didn't even really know what that meant. You know what I'm saying? I've just kind of watched the Olympics. So I will admit, when I first saw, because I do understand gymnastics, and in the Olympics, most top gymnasts are young ladies.
Yeah.
And I will use the word young because I think now they have to be over 16 years old. There was a time where there was 12 and 13-year-old girls that were the best in the world. You know, turn the Olympics, and they were kids. They did eventually eliminate that. I think now it is 16 years of age. I hope you can follow the chat room. I don't even have the chat room up anymore. If somebody question out there, but so
I'm here
now. The Olympics is 16 and up. And those are the best in the world. But then you have these college girls, and I will admit, college girls in gymnastics outfits have an appeal that you don't get from football or baseball. So all I'm saying is, when it first started, that did draw my attention a little bit.
All right, old.
But curmudgeon. But quickly, I got into it. So they start talking about it's the 2 top women coaches of all time. It's the 2 best teams of all time, more championships than any 2 teams. But here's the other part I got. Out of the 2 teams, there was 5 Olympic gold medalists on the 2 teams. So college, and I hadn't thought of that before, but college gymnasts, I just thought once you did the Olympics, you went on and did something else. I didn't realize you then could go to college, and guess what? You're on the gymnastics team.
Oh, sure.
So we have, top gymnasts that already have gold medals, 3 on one team and 2 on another. Now, one was from another country. She was, obviously just like any other college sport, she was, I don't want to use the word drafted, but she was, she came over from another country, to partake in the sport. But here's what I didn't get versus Olympics, where the Olympics, there's 4 or 5 different apparatuses. They're all going at the same time. It's hard to keep track of who. In college, in this dual meet, one girl would go off. They would do 2 at a time. Each team would have their apparatus, and you went one girl, they scored her, and then they went and did the other apparatus, and a girl went for that team. So you always knew who was winning. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? It wasn't just a bunch of girls. You literally got to watch each. There was, they rotated them through 5 girls. They dropped the worst score and blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
It was fascinating because the score went back and forth the whole time, like a basketball game. It ended up being, I remember the scores being 197. I do know that part, but it was like 197.85 to 197.50, meaning Oklahoma, the number one team in the country, won by less than half of a point.
Damn.
It was phenomenal. I mean, and the girl, I didn't know who this was. Kyla Ross is the number one gymnast in college right now. She is the top not Olympic. She's the top collegiate gymnast. She was phenomenal. She got 3 perfect 10s and got a 9.98 on one of the average. Meaning they even said this was that no one had ever gotten 4 perfect 10s. And then another girl on her team got 2 number 10s. That was the problem though. That was UCLA. Yeah. They had the 2 best girls, but Oklahoma had the best team.
Okay.
It was phenomenal. It was like, it would be like, the team that had LeBron, and LeBron and Durant, but the other team had 5 all-stars. You know what I'm saying? And it was phenomenal. I couldn't get enough. And the other girl was Caitlin Ashani.
I've seen hers. I mean, her sets are just amazing. I mean, that woman can.
Floor exercise was phenomenal. She got a perfect 10. I'm just saying, people that I hear all the time talk to me and go, well, oh man, I'm just a big sports fan. And then I'll say, oh, did you watch the gymnastics thing? Oh, no. Did you watch the bull ride? No. What about NASCAR? Did you watch the Daytona 500? I said, I thought you were a sports fan. Oh, yeah, I watch football. I watch baseball. Well, I'm a sports fan. Give me the 2 best teams in an event like that. I mean, and again, like I said, these are 20-ish-year-old women, not 16-year-old girls. So they're like I said, they're in gymnastics outfits. There is an audience grab there. But I got to tell you though, that immediately went away when you realize these are some of the best. You're seeing some great, like I said, I saw multiple perfect 10s. It was just really, really neat. I would ESPN reruns it. Now I gave it away. So, I probably wouldn't watch it if I knew who won already, but I'm just saying for a Sunday afternoon when normally I would, like I said, I do realize this Sunday there was no football unless you want that. I've still yet to watch more than 10 minutes of that AAAAFFFF, whatever the hell it is. But there was obviously NASCAR didn't come on till later in the night. This was on at 1:00. No NASCAR till 3. There's no football, obviously. There's no baseball, but some preseason stuff. So it was like a perfect storm of nothing really to watch. And then they advertised this number 1 versus number 2 thing. I'm just saying, people who call themselves sports fans, but won't watch the best in the world, regardless what the event is. I think it's a little crazy. I mean, there's some things I may not watch, but even if I used to watch bowling back in the day, I haven't watched bowling much anymore because
I like watching bowling.
I do too back in the day. Nowadays it's less likely, but even once in a while I will watch on ESPN for a few minutes because those guys wear some outfits, man. I mean, it's pretty, they're fun to watch, but if someone said, hey, today in bowling, the finals, we got the 2 best in the world. I watched axe throwing the other day on ESPN. It was pretty cool, actually. But
that's pretty crazy.
I'm just saying, the word sports and fan to me should mean you're more than a fan of. Well, if you want to say I'm a football fan, I'll buy that. You want to say I'm a baseball fan, I'll buy that. You want to say, hey, I'm a big fan of the major sports, I'll give you that.
There you go.
You're a sports fan and you're not interested in watching a less popular sport when the 2, when the best are doing it. Again, I watched the downhill again this year in Russia, or this week in Russia with the Shiver girl who's,
oh yeah.
15. I can sit and watch that stuff for an hour. I mean, so that to end the show, that was my question. What are you a sports fan? Will you watch anything, or are there things it doesn't even matter? You wouldn't watch 1 and 2 in that regardless.
No, I'd watch. If it was 1 and 2, I would sit down and watch pretty much anything. If there's nothing else going on, especially now we're in the it's the dead part of the off season,
right?
Then yeah, I would check that out for sure.
No, I would agree. If football was on the same Sunday as this gymnastics thing, I might not have even known it was on. Meaning football would grab me so much that I wouldn't even known it was on.
Yeah,
So obviously, and their national championship comes up in 2 weeks. This was one of the last meets either of these teams have before their national championship.
Oh, okay.
So I'm now hooked enough where I paid attention and wrote on my calendar in 2 weeks. I'm kind of interested in watching the championships now. Now I know, because I have a couple of their names written down from the Oklahoma girls too. They obviously have a couple gold medalists on there. And, I'm going to watch now just because I kind of know how it works. And because it was just 2 teams and each event was individualized, I thought the broadcast was better because they went into more detail. I actually learned more about scoring and some of the gymnastic stuff watching that than I do when I watch the Olympics, because in the Olympics, there's always somebody doing something. So they just go from one event to the other and don't really explain or slow-mo. And, where in this one, it was pretty cool. So I'm just saying, I mean, I'm a fan of sports. You know what? Give me the 2 top dart throwers and I'm probably going to watch for a minute.
Be fun to watch. Yeah.
The problem with that sport, have you ever watched that sport and watched the best in the world do darts?
That can get intense.
Well, unfortunately, they are so good that it looks like you're watching the same guy over and over again. They're 20, 20, 20.
Yeah, they're so accurate.
20. If anything, right, that's the problem. My point with that is, all right, if you're that good, put the boards behind each other and throw at each other. Try to get a 20 while the other guy's throwing at you, trying to
start doing trick shots.
There you go. Now, see, the pool trick shots I'll watch.
Those are the best. I love watching those.
I do too. And now ESPN used to have like 8-Ball on a lot. I don't even see that anymore. Do they still?
No, neither do I. I guess we'd have to. That'd be a question for Mr. Brumley.
They had that Asian girl always in that tight black outfit.
I remember her. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Again, I think she was a draw, but I also think she was the best in the world, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I think she was nicknamed the Black Widow, if I'm not mistaken. But she used to kick men's ass. But I used to turn that on, and I'll be the first to admit the curmudgeon old dirty man in me flipping through an ESPN. You go, whoa, what's that shooting pool? And then, but
Jeanette Lee.
She, she was, I think, the best in the world for quite a while.
Wouldn't surprise me.
As far as females.
Wow, she's only 47. I remember watching her like when I was a kid.
Right. I'm guessing she started playing pool in her teens, so you probably watched her when she was in her 20s.
Yeah, she was #1 female pool player in the world during the 1990s. So, yeah, that'll be it. Yeah, when I was a kid.
She's like the GOAT of women, pool players.
Pretty much.
Sorry, poker game. Did you take cash home, Mr. HBYOB told me he left with extra cash. How'd you do?
Yeah, I almost was up a buy-in thereabouts, so it was profitable evening.
I've played enough poker. If you go home a dollar more than you started with, you got to
get a good night.
Win.
Yeah.
So that's good for you. Well, good. Yeah, I've got like 3 birthdays. I've got I had a 21-year-old birthday last week. I have a 21 tomorrow night. I'm going to a bar where our best friend's kid is turning 21. And then the next Saturday, another my daughter's boyfriend finally is old enough to buy me a beer. So
look at that. There you go.
Yeah, all my friends' kids and my kids, my kids are now old enough. All of them can buy me beer. And they date people who can buy me beer. So I shouldn't have to buy any beer, but you know what? My refrigerator is always full of my beer, and then it's also empty of my beer, and I didn't drink it all. Be glad your kids aren't old enough to drink your beer yet. So
it's coming soon. So,
well, this probably wasn't the best of the 53 shows, whatever, because I spent all week making sure we could get on the air more than I did the stuff. And, like I said, I'm gonna have to work on some things. The video's still not right again because I now have 3 monitors hooked up to the same machine. Maybe that's not gonna work. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I'll play with it. I got another week now. Now I can still fine tune, test a few things. I mean, I'm no quitter, Chris. I am no quitter.
I believe in you.
I believe in you. Anything exciting going on you need to tell us about for the following week?
Not that I can think of. I got a new article on best ball, looking at the wide receiver position from a 2018 perspective, strategies, guys that performed well, traits that we can look at for the 2019 season. So I'm finishing that up tonight, and that should be up on Fantrax tomorrow morning.
Is that on their behind their pay part, or is that something you can get?
Nope, free info.
Right.
Free info for anybody.
Well, all
So
right.
Come look at the fruits of my labor.
Right. And again, if you follow you on Twitter, you know.
Oh, yeah, it'll be all across it'll be my pinned tweet as soon as it's published. My pinned tweet right now is my running backs article, which got quite a few positive reviews as to helping people strategize for 2019. And hopefully I'll get the same reception for this one as well.
Right. If I've learned one thing doing this for over a year is, and I'm sure you'll find with articles, it's just the ones you think, sometimes you think this is going to be the best ever, and you even are proud of it, and half the people read it or watch it, and then the one you think, no one will read this piece of crap, and it ends up being the one that more people watch. I mean, we've done shows where the shows I'll go, man, that was a bad show. I thought, man, at the end of the week,
like that? Yeah.
At the end of the week, well, I'm not sure, we don't advertise I know you listen to podcasts where people say, don't forget to vote, up or down, or like us, or friend.
Yeah, like, review, respond, or subscribe.
I guess, I don't know, maybe one of these days we'll be popular enough. I feel I have to pub that, but right now I'm like, follow me and Chris on Twitter, afantasyfan.com will take you to our site at Lenny's. Follow Lenny in the chat room. And, people who want to find us will find us. And one of these days we'll, if you if you hate us enough that you want to leave a dirty remark, I'm waiting for the first bad comment. We have not had one of those. We've had a couple thumbs up and a couple positive reviews on YouTube, but
I'll take it.
I'll take it. And if someone wants to write good things about me, I mean, Chris, he's already on 9 other websites. So I'm the one. I need a little pubbing up once in a while. So.
I do a few things here and there.
You're a good guy, Chris.
Right.
All right. afantasyfan.com. Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com. The Legend Sports Network. Chris Allen. It should be just called, it shouldn't be the World Wide Web. It should be the Worldwide Chris Allen, because he's everywhere out there. Hopefully we will be back and fine-tuned next week, where I'm not spending a whole week trying to get my pretty microphone so I sound like a true professional.
Yes, because we are in the biz. So we need to be professional.
We are in the biz. We are a award-winning podcast.
Hence I got the upgrading, right? See,
mic hanger.
Just need a pop filter and a green screen behind me, and then we'll be good to go.
No, you've said now my camera popped off, but you already said my black screen looked better than my green screen. I look professional. Did you like the little border thing I put around there? It says I'm live.
I like it.
I'm fixing it up to where my goal is to have it to where here soon that I have you in a separate window that way. So that's why I'm doing all this, because I want to add the video and do a few more things.
So we look like we're side by side. I think that'd be legit.
Like we actually like each other.
Exactly.
So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Cha-Cha, I know, was in the chat room. I don't know. Unholy Toledo, I saw earlier in the chat room before my system went down, so I could try to figure out what was slowing me up. But I appreciate you guys being out there. Lenny Melnick will be on again in the morning at 9:00 talking baseball. So people can get our baseball teams up and running and get ready for that. So, again, appreciate everyone coming out. We'll see you again next Wednesday night, 10:00. Right here. Chris, say goodnight.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan Podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say goodnight. Good night.